In this part of our discussion, we will concentrate on the statutory provisions regarding functions, composition and structure of the Panchayats in India. As we have mentioned in our previous discussion, that the 73rd Constitution Amendment Act, which was accepted in 1992 and put into force from April 1993, has introduced a new part 9 into the Constitution text, and part 9 deals with articles from 243 capital A till 243 capital O. All these articles deal with the various aspects of Panchayat administration in India. This is a very detailed attempt to talk about and delineate the areas of responsibility of the Panchayats in India. So long, not that there were not Panchayats, in fact, the states of West Bengal, Karnataka, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh and Maharashtra, to mention the leading ones, already had, by the time the amendment came, already had a very well developed 3-tiered Panchayat system. And West Bengal particularly, we had from 1978 a popular election in which political parties participated in the 3-level Panchayat elections of Gram Panchayat, Panchayat Samiti and Zila Parishad. With the coming of the 73rd Amendment Act and the part 9 of the Constitution, the entire country and all the states were put on a very uniform basis regarding the system of Panchayats and powers of the Panchayat system. Article 243, the first article of this entire part, starts with a few definitions. For example, one definition is very relevant, that what is a Panchayat. And for Panchayat, article 243 defines Panchayat to be an institution of self-government for rural area, and this is very clear definition regarding Panchayat. Article 243 also talks about a totally new innovation which was not in practice in any of the states, though West Bengal did have a system like that. Article 243 introduced a kind of a 4th level or a 4th tier down below Gram Panchayat, and is called the Gram Sabha. And Article 243 capital A is about Gram Sabha, which is just mentioned in Article 243. Now, Gram Sabha is a body of direct democracy. Now, direct democracy is a system in which people themselves participate in the policy making, and this was not there in India, particularly because of the hugeness of the whole system with so much of population. But as a measure of deepening democracy, India already had a democratic setup, but what was needed was deepening, bringing it down to the real grassroots level. The institution of Gram Sabha was introduced by the 73rd Amendment Act, and Gram Sabha is composed of all the electors, all the voters, that is, of a particular gram or village, which votes for a particular Gram Panchayat or a village Panchayat, and this body, composed of all the voters and not their representatives alone, but all the voters, they meet at least twice a year, from 2 to 4 times a year, and they try to meet usually on public holidays so that everyone can participate. And Gram Sabha is given the responsibility of policy making at the grassroots level. The second part is taking stock of the fund position, the accounts of the entire Gram Panchayat, deciding on who would be the beneficiaries of different schemes, taking into consideration natural justice of not leaving out anyone, to be as inclusive as possible. So, in a way, Gram Sabha is both a policy making body, in that case it is a legislature, and an executive body which deals with the nitty-gritties of the whole process and also keeps in check the higher levels starting from Gram Panchayat right up to Zila Parishad. And this is a very democratic body, and this is functioning all over India. and right now we have a rough estimate all over India, more than 250,000 Gram Panchayats all over India now, and of course almost equal number of Gram Sabhas. Thereafter, articles, as we have discussed in the section on municipalities, articles, successive articles discuss the constitution, that there shall be a panchayat system in every state, that is obligatory on every state, about the composition, and this panchayat, just to make the issue bit more understandable, that panchayats were there before 73rd Amendment Act, but in many states panchayats were not wholly elective or even not at all elective, it is totally a nominated body. In some states like West Bengal, Karnataka or Maharashtra or Andhra, they are totally elective. So, this is made totally elective now, except few ex officio members, the majority is elective. The reservation principle is extended not only to the people belonging to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, who are given that number of seats in proportion to, in the same proportion as they are found, as scheduled castes are found in the general population of a particular area, be it a gram for a Gram Panchayat or a block for Panchayat Samiti or district for the Zilla Parishad. Part 9 of the constitution is quite eloquent about other aspects of the Panchayat administration, its duration, its constitution, composition, the disqualification of its members, its powers and responsibilities and powers of taxation, its method of election, and all these vital issues. Regarding duration, one of the problems of panchayats across different states in India before this 73rd Amendment Act came into force was that there were panchayats, but their term of office were often different, not exactly the same all over India. And the second problem was that panchayats were often superseded by the state government, presumably for their non-functioning character or their malfunctioning activities, but often for political reasons. We found that panchayats controlled by other political forces which were inimical to the state government were superseded by the state government. To take care of such dangerous tendencies which could be found in some parts of India, Part 9A insisted on panchayats having a fixed tenure of 5 years, and elections to the new panchayat will have to be called for on the completion of the 5 years and must be completed within 6 months of the expiry of the previous panchayat. Thus, this was taken care of, that panchayats now are assured of a fixed term of service and not they are not in the, I would say, in the hands of the state government regarding their terms of service. Secondly, regarding their powers and functions, they basically panchayats at the 3 levels. At the Gram Panchayat level, the village level demands are collated and they are aggregated into policy formations, and they are sent to the next higher level, the Panchayat Samiti, and from the Panchayat Samiti it goes up to the highest level, the Zilla Parishad level. Now, Zilla Parishad is usually the distributive body. It receives the funds from the state government or other sources, and it sends the funds to the needed panchayats and the Panchayat Samitis. So, basically at the grassroots level, on the recommendations of the Gram Sabhas, the Gram Panchayat is entrusted with making of the policy resolutions for the local issues, and also for looking after the funds, the accounts of the money received and money spent, and the detailed list of functions, as we found in the case of municipalities to be in the 12th schedule, for panchayats in the 11th schedule. So, the 11th schedule of the Constitution of India gives a detailed list of functions to be carried out by the panchayats, and that covers almost all aspects of rural life. Secondly, power of taxation. Panchayats have some limited powers of taxation which are definitely not enough to meet its needs. It is dependent on the state government and other agencies. and that is basically one of the problems of the Panchayat administration, as it is in the problem of the municipal administration in the urban areas. And for this purpose, there is a State Finance Commission which looks after the issue of sharing of funds between the states and the panchayats, the amount due to panchayats from the state level. So, all these are looked after by the State Finance Commission, modeled after the Finance Commission for the entire country. But there is a problem here. Problem is that Panchayat is under the state jurisdiction, is an item on the state list, and Panchayats are directly under state control. So, every state had to initiate a Panchayat Act of its own, and this state control means that basically it is a control over the finances, and Panchayats are given the most important responsibility of looking after the developmental needs of the people, but they are hardly any control over the funds they need, and for that they are totally dependent on the state government, and now that is supplemented by many central projects. So, that is one of the major problems of the Panchayat system in that sense. And we are talking about states, but there are union territories in India, and Panchayats are also extended to union territories. But initially the Panchayat system was not extended to what is known as the scheduled areas, which are given in the 5th schedule in accordance with article 244. We are talking about article 243, and article 244 comes next, and article 244 delineates, or they specifically mentions some states in which there are concentration of tribal populations, scheduled tribes populations, and which at the same time non-northeastern states, which means they are not in the northeastern limit of the country. States like even West Bengal is one of the states like Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, so on and so forth. Now, in such states, in the tribal dominated areas are known as scheduled areas. Now, since tribals have their own traditional system of self-governance, initially the 73rd Amendment Act did not try to meddle with their traditional self-governing systems. But in 1996, the extension of Panchayat was then made to the scheduled areas, the PISA Act of 1996, and it brought under the Panchayat system also the scheduled areas. But there was a difference in the sense that it was not meant to dislodge or not meant to do away with the traditional systems of self-governance in those tribal majority scheduled areas, but to supplement those traditional self-governing systems with the modern Panchayat self-governing systems. An enormous responsibility was placed on Gram Sabha in those scheduled areas, because the major problem of these scheduled areas was they are mainly, if we look at the map of India, they are mainly in forested regions or in and around forests, and a large part of our non-mountainous tribal population lives in and around forest, dependent on forest products for their livelihood, and they have a communal ownership of land also there. So, the Gram Sabha of these scheduled areas were given entire responsibility of looking after all these aspects of tribal life, maintaining their rights, looking after the infringement of their rights, and thus these Gram Sabhas were supposed to put additional strength or to reinvigorate the traditional modes of self-governance which are there. So, in the Panchayat system we find which have come from the 73rd Amendment Act, what are the major issues concerned with it? First of all, uniformity. It has tried to bring in uniformity, not that it had to bring in Panchayat system, it was there almost in all the states, but there was uniformity assured regarding structure, composition, functions and all other things. Secondly, the innovation of the Gram Sabha system as the fourth tier of popular participation and making it really a grassroots democracy. Thirdly, the extension to the scheduled areas, so very important in the sense, and at the same time also controversial. Fourthly, the state finance commission and the state election commissions, all these have tried to bring in an uniformity to the Panchayat system. Part 9 have introduced a number of innovations with good intentions regarding the Panchayat Samiti. We will try to focus on two of them basically. One is Gram Sabha and other is the reservation of seats for women. Both are looked upon as attempts to deepen democracy. Democracy is there and deepening its base, and for which Gram Sabha was constituted, given a pride of place in the entire Part 9. Gram Sabhas are bodies composed of all the electors, in all the adult people of a particular village constituency which elects the Gram Panchayat. Now, they are supposed to be held on public holidays, allowing people to attend, all of them to attend as many as is happened. The first major problem which I have found that is of attendance. All across India, the average attendance figure in the Gram Sabha meetings have been around 10 to 12% and not more than that, which means about 90% of the members or about 88% of the members they do not attend Gram Sabha meetings. So, that definitely is a big problem for the Gram Sabha, since it is touted to be or hoped to be a body of direct democracy. Secondly, in states which are more or less highly politicized in India, like our own state of West Bengal or the southern states or Maharashtra, for example, in the western India, Panchayat is totally under political control, and Gram Sabhas are also politically controlled in that state by the party which holds power at the Gram Panchayat level. So, here people are not actually making the policies, they are actually validating the policies made elsewhere. So, in a way, both participation wise as well as exact policy making wise, Gram Sabhas are not doing enough, or they are not being allowed to do enough in that sense. Basically, people are, if they attend in such a small number, basically it is their political apathy or their inability or unwillingness to play any public role. Women hold up half the sky. We have been hearing that since a long time, but still holding up half the sky, they were not given any representation or any right to participate in a way apart from casting their votes. By introducing a minimum of 33 1/3% seats, keeping them reserved for the women, that problem was supposed to be taken care of, and states are free to increase that percentage, which some states have raised to 50%, like state of West Bengal, for example. What happens to the empowerment issue? We have found the seats are now being reserved for women, and they rotate among different constituencies, and usually across India, and more so in some particular regions of India, we found the tendency that a seat, when it becomes reserved for women, the women nominated is a member of the family to which the seat went previously to the male member, and the actual policy makers, the actual decision makers in that sense becomes the male members, and they wait out for 5 years for the next election till once again the seat is so called unreserved and male members can come in. And it has given rise to a new word called Sarpanch Poti, in which Poti, or the husband, is actually Sarpanch, though titular, in a titular manner, the wife or the sister or the mother is actually the Sarpanch or the Panchayat functionary. But still, one has to say that despite all these criticisms, which are a fact, and since 1993 this Panchayat system is in place, women are coming out into the open at the grassroots political level much more than previously, and much more than previously they are getting elected in many more numbers. They are taking part in the Panchayat activities at any of the 3 tiers. They are holding offices of the Gram Panchayat Pradhan, the Panchayat Samiti chairperson, or even the Sabadhipati at the Jilla Parishad level, and that has definitely may not be to the expected level, but they definitely created much enthusiasm among women folk at rural areas. So, overall the Panchayat system, which has been in India for a long time and has been reinstated through this 73rd Amendment Act, this Panchayat system is now a part of Indian political architecture, but one problem still remains, that it is not yet officially the third tier of governance or third level of governance, because Panchayat is still subsumed under the authority of the state government. So, unless and until it gets its own power base, it will not be the actual third tier or third level of governance, as can be found out in some countries like Nigeria, for example, and Nigeria has given this third level a constitutional place. So, for that we can look for maybe some other amendment in the future to the present Panchayat Act or the present Panchayat system. But one thing is that the Panchayat should have, that is the last word, the Panchayat should have enough power of raising its own resources, otherwise it will be at the mercy of either the state government or indirectly of the central government.